Start. Okay, so welcome back, guys. We're looking at the German tech tree this time. We're going to start off obviously at Tier 1 and move all the way through to Tier 10. Tier 1 being the light track. So we talked about last time the T1 Cunningham. T1 Cunningham is the god tier type Tier 1 tank. The light tractor really isn't bad per se. It's like the medium, well-rounded type one. It's the one that you look at and just go, you know what? I'll have that. I'll have that one too. Nothing crazy. You'll probably be in it for about 4 or 5 games until if you just choose one line, 4 or 5 games. Maximum, you're probably playing 30-ish games to unlock all of these, unless you're not doing any damage or not doing anything relevant in game. These things obviously lead into what the normal tank classes are. There's SPGs, TDs, lights, mediums, heavies. So you're going to run into those different things. There's 5 different classes. You're going to run into them basically by moving into what you think you are best at. I would say that, the German line over most things is a little more difficult to actually start to understand because they don't really get the advantages of camo, they don't really get the advantages of really DPM or anything else that set people apart. But what they do get for the most part is accuracy. So back in the day, Wargaming really focused on giving a specific nation a specific quirk. And so say for example, the Americans had really good gun depression, Germans had really good accuracy, the French obviously had their autoloaders, Russians obviously had their alpha. It worked a certain kind of way. So, but it was always a drawback to these individual things. So, they kind of stepped away from that, I want to say, in the early days, like 7.5, 7-ish. They just meandered a little bit from what they normally do. But I digress. So artillery, the Jagdpanzer 1, the 35T, the Panzer 2, and the Panzer 1. So, all of these right here are very, very, very decent tanks. The artillery, I've never played this one specifically because, well, it got replaced or put in after all of the tanks were fixed to make the RD go up to tier 10. So I haven't played this one, or I think the PZ Souffle 4B. Haven't played that one either. So I've got everything else down, basically, to a science. I played the Bison before and the Wesp. They're all pretty good. They're all pretty decent in that respect. This one, though, I have not played, so I can't really speak too much on it, but it's an artillery piece at Tier 2. You can't really expect it to be too accurate. You can't really expect it to have very fast aim time. It's going to do work to a certain degree. It's probably going to fire fairly quickly, and it's going to do work. So hopefully if you're learning to play artillery, which I again have to recommend, and I'll do this in every single video that has an artillery branch, I recommend that you don't play artillery until you have at least 5 to 10,000 battles. Understand the game long before you start playing artillery. Just leave it unresearched. Don't bother with it, and understand that you'll do better off understanding how the game works before you jump into artillery, because artillery teaches very, 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 very bad habits. Obviously, you don't really have to worry about map control. You don't have to worry about map reading. You don't have to understand how to anticipate people. There's so many things that ruin your overall gameplay experience, and I believe this is probably the problem with a lot of players today. But again, I digress. I don't want to get into that. I'm just saying that you probably don't want to actually start off with artillery, so please don't. The Jagdpanzer 1 is very good. It has very good pen. It's going to be very deadly, especially as a Tier 2. 115 pin, 0.35 accuracy, 0.17. It's good. It's good for a tier 2. You're expecting probably seeing like anything like, well, let's look into the tier 2 tank. Yeah, 0.5 dispersion, which is terrible. 1.6 second aim time. Like, who cares about the aim time? Dispersion is awful. You're not really gonna be hitting anything relevant or anytime soon. So the Jagdpanzer 1 is decent, good alpha, good pen, with APCR premium rounds. The 35T is, of course, these are all tier 2 tanks, so you're going to fly straight through them. The Panzer 2 actually is really good with machine gun. It's deadly to tier 1s. Like, let me just say that right now. Usually you won't pin a Panzer 2 in tier 1. It's just not going to happen. It's going to chew you up with that machine gun, though. The PZ-1 is almost the same exact way. It's very solid in what it does, but I think this one actually has more or less standard. No, they look rate of fire too. But I didn't really think they were machine guns, but they may be autoloaders to a degree. But there you go on that. The Wesp. The Wesp has a 105, and I think the Bison. What? I guess the 150. Oh yeah, it does get the 150. I thought. Oh, the Wesp. Yeah, okay. The difference between the Wesp and the Bison, I believe, one is a little more of a blunderbuss, and the other one's a little more accurate. Step back and check. I know the Wesp is the 105. Yeah. Yeah, better accuracy, better aim time. In exchange for a little less damage overall. Both of these are solid choices. The Bison, though, I mean, it's very immobile. The Wesp I went with because it actually is pretty quick. The Martyr 2, back in the day, let's take a look. 154, 12.5 rate of fire. They actually raised the dispersion and the aim time on this thing. This thing used to be ridiculous. It was very, 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 very good at what it did. It ripped tier 5s to shreds, because even still with 154 pin, it was ridiculous. And 110 damage at 12.5 rate of fire, that's, even though they've nerfed it a little bit, it's still very strong. Very, very, very strong. The Martyr 2 will serve you well if you decide to go up the TD line. The Panzer S35. Now, I've played this thing a few times. It gets a tier 2 gun. Its average penetration really isn't good enough to fight the majority of things it sees. Its aim time is basically non-existent. Dispersion is a little high. It's alright. It's alright. And if you actually, as of right now, if you actually type my name in, so Junkers here, you see it below my name, in all caps into the invite screen, invite codes or anything like that. It's an invite code only. So if you've never made an account before, it works on both the EU server and the NA server. It gets you a free one of these, 7 days of premium, 500 gold, and I know I'm forgetting something else. Whatever. Yeah, you get some free stuff. You can reroll and go to the EU if you want with it. Basically, it just allows you to have a free premium tank and to have a little fun with it. But it's not great. It's not bad. It's very mediocre. But it's a tier 3 tank. What do you expect? The PZ-38T. PZ-38 actually really isn't bad at all. Like its brother, the 38NA, they're both decent, but it's the same thing at tier 3. You're not doing a whole lot. PZ-T15, that actually is a pretty good tank. I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty cool. I haven't played it too much, but it's good enough. The PZ-4 Alpha, this just came out not too long ago. I have not dabbled with it. But looking at it, I guarantee you it's a tier 4 tank, so it's not good. Oh my god. That's terrible. You're probably going to want to use this gun. Looking at how bad this is, I want to see that. Yeah, it's an L24. You're probably going to use the 5cm. Good rate of fire, it looks like. Decent pin for tier 4. You start seeing tier 6 stuff, you're going to be in trouble. Not terribly great. Let's just throw that out there. The Panzer 3. Panzer 3. I've had a lot of really good games in this thing, and what leads into the original Panzer 3. The Panzer 3 Alpha is basically a prototype version, I believe, of the Panzer 3. They're both pretty fun, though its gun options are very limited. You're probably going to use the 5cm again, as I don't think it get too much out of the rest of the guns it has, especially at tier 4, which I'm not really sure why you even allow this. Honestly, it's pretty bad. Same with this, it's pretty bad. I'm not sure why they let you do that at tier 3, but I guess for the sake of historicalness, maybe you can load those guns for that reason. But the this one, same thing, is not very good. That also is not very good, but it's decently quick and it's heavy. I have not played. Oh, I did play it, 2 games. I don't recall that. Huh. Oh well. Yeah, so it's alright. It's going to be okay. But as always, it's a tier 3. It's not going to, make or break you. Panzer 2G, same exact thing. The Panzer 1C is probably the standout beyond the Marder 2 in Panzer 3. At tier 3. It has this ridiculous machine gun. And it's, 7.92. So it's basically a rifle caliber gun that does quite a bit of damage, and it shoots for days. So it just reload. Like, it puts out a lot of rounds. 40 rounds in the magazine. It puts out a lot of rounds. When you hit something that it can pin, it dies. It dies really fast. Really, really, really fast. Tank is actually a lot of fun to play overall. It's very, very fast. I want to say it does 80 km. Yeah, 80. So you actually can go over that going downhill. You're hauling. Tank is a lot of fun. I would definitely say give it a shot if you have not played it before. It's interesting. It's really interesting, but in tier 5 games, you're not doing a lot. That's what the downside of it is. It's just not taking care of business. Tier 4, the Panzer Souffle 4B. It's actually a decent artillery piece. Like, you're actually rolling into what now is pretty good territory for artillery. The Sturm Panzer II was my workhorse back in the day. I played the living daylos out of this thing. I loved it. I love it. I loved it. And the Marder 38T is what the Marder 2 was at tier 3. It's actually just really freaking good. Let's take a look. 154 pin, average damage, but the rate of fire goes well up. Dispersion's good, aim time is good. Like, it's good. Let's just say it's good at tier 4. The Hetzer, though, gives it a run for its money. So it gets a 105. At tier 4, its penetration is 104. That's pretty good. Mounted with the fact this thing has a 220 horsepower engine and it only weighs, again, and I'm gonna probably do that like 3 more times while I'm doing this video. Vehicle details. While only weighing 16 tons, this thing spins like a top. Its reverse speed is ridiculous. It's going to spin hard. If you were trying to flank a Hetzer, you're probably not going to flank a Hetzer. If it sees you coming, you will never, ever flank it. It will drop a 105 in your side, and you will die. So be careful with that. Between these two, the Hetzer and the 38 Marder T, the 38T, it's actually really good. The Hetzer is really good. Either one you choose there, you end up with the Stug if you want, and it's solid. So don't feel too bad about it. It's a really good tank. The 38NA is also a decent tank in the lines of like the M5 Sherman. It's not great. It's not bad. It's gonna be in a bad situation with the tiers it sees, but at least it's okay enough to do its job. The Dirch Birch Wagon 2, or the DW2, is... People have said it's bad. I've played it a couple times, and for a tier 4 heavy tank, it's not great. It doesn't really have any armor. It's essentially a medium tank and heavy tank guys. It's not bad. It's not bad, but it's not good. I'm just gonna say it's mediocre. In most cases, the people you see playing it will be eaten alive in it, so keep that in mind. I did actually enjoy playing it. I thought its gun choices were pretty good. 130 average pin, average damage is alright, aim time is alright, rate of fire is actually pretty broken. It's just, people tend to think that because it's a heavy tank, it's supposed to just take hits, and it's like a glass cannon. It's pretty good at what it does, but it's not going to wreck things like people want it to. Stug 3B and the Panzer IV-D, Panzer III, and the Lusch. All of these, the same thing, still tier 4. The Panzer III-B actually is a very, 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 very good lead into the Stug 3G. I mean, if you look at this, basically, if you have the reward tank, the Stug 3, is that the F? I'm not sure. It's the reward Stug 3, though. That one has the L4875, I want to say. That is a good tank. This is a good tank at tier 4. It's very, very good. I thought it was actually pretty damn good. It's solid as hell. You can run the 105 on it. I don't really recommend it, but it's available if you want. It gets the same 75 that you get here, 0.36 dispersion, 1.7 second aim time, 158 on the penetration on your APCR or Apicasur, and 110 on the AP. That's solid. That's really, 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 really good for a tier 4 gun. You know, a tier 4 tank. That's pretty solid. I think you're gonna like it a lot. I just, with me, TDs or non-treated TDs or casemate TDs give me a lot of issues, but in the lower tiers you'll probably enjoy it. If it's stacked anything like the Stug 3G, taking a shot to your lower hull or just the front of your hull in general, not the casemate, will probably lead to you losing your engine if the shot's big enough. So keep that in mind. That is a major, major weakness. Panzer IV-D. I don't remember this thing at all. I want to say this is the new tank, because I don't remember this. It's fairly new. I have not played this one, but looking at its guns, it's not bad. It just, all it really now matters is it has the specific power, and it does. The power to weight ratio seems like it's pretty good, so it would probably be pretty decent at tier 4. It should probably do work, honestly. I can't really see it being too bad. The Panzer III. The Panzer III holds a very special part in my heart. I played the ever-living daylight out of this tank. Usually with the 75, and I had so much fun. When I moved to this gun, it was much better, but I still wasn't having as much fun as running basically the Derp 75. No, I said APCR first, and the joke name for APCR is Apicasur. Apicasur. Panzer III, because of its weight, let's look at this way. It's 19 tons. The majority of the things you see in this tier, don't weigh very much. I rammed all the things. It was so much fun, because I'm pretty sure you would use 64 top speed. So once you get moving, you're wrecking things. That was a lot of fun. I mean, probably the majority of my games in this thing were absolutely awful. I didn't do too well, and this is back when I was learning how to play the game still. Tons of fun, though. Tons of fun. It's a good tier 4. It's not going to be, broken, overpowered, but it's alright. The Lush, on the other side, as I remember one of my guys doing, the Lucas. It is... It's a tier 4 that actually is pretty beasty. It's going to work its way all the way through. It gets the same gun as the Leo, so it's going to work its way all the way through to the very end of the game and be very, very, very relevant, provided you actually keep it in line. The accuracy probably might not be the best, but if you get it, the best, but you'll get in close and do lots and lots of damage with that autocannon. You're maneuverable enough to stay around people's turrets to get the heck out of there. And you're gonna enjoy this tank if you like light tank play. I would recommend giving this one a shot just because you have to experience it. You have to experience how hard that thing turns. The grill. Now, while not as broken as the M41, it still gets a heat round of a penetration of 185 with slightly lower average damage, slightly lower. The dispersion is a little, the weight is on the gun it makes it a little slower, probably than the M41. The aim time, I want to say, is a little better though. It's a good tank. It was good. It was broken at tier 4. Honestly, it was broken at tier 4. It becoming a tier 5 made it so that people couldn't spam it in tank companies and things like that. So it actually fixed that problem that made it so overpowered in tier. It's a good tank. It hits pretty hard in tier. The Panzer Soufflé. It has an elevation that basically makes it shoot straight in the air because it literally is an anti-aircraft gun. But what makes it good, okay, at tier 5, it gets full 88. That 88 is something that's going to strike fear into people. Now, the rate of fire actually is pretty good. It basically shoots, what was it, like every... I don't want to do math right now because I'm actually pretty tired, but it shoots pretty quickly. 194 pin is all you'll ever need. You should never, ever, ever even need to load APCR out of this thing. I really don't see the point in firing it. You don't need it. You're just going to lose money anyway, but 194 is solid. I really don't see you need anything else. 240 average damage. I mean, like, you're looking at this, it's like, well, this thing seems kind of broken. Well, it has no armor whatsoever. It's the size of a city, and it's open top, so if anything pins it either from the left, right, or on top of it, it's just going to die. It is the extreme of a glass cannon. It is very good, though, if you just sit back and snipe with it. Though you rarely see people playing it because they don't actually understand how to play it. Hold on. Sorry about that. Okay. I was talking about the Panzersuffle. Yeah. So a lot of people don't actually understand how to play it because it literally is a glass cannon, and people don't understand what glass cannon means, so they get shot to death and die. The Stug 3 is... Man. I remember back in the day, before they nerfed this rate of fire, me and Armored would play this thing, and it absolutely destroyed people. It was the tank to go with. It's very maneuverable, decently quick. The L70 was very accurate. You were a little ammo limited, though. So it's like... How's the best way to describe this thing? In a pure sniper role, like in a TD, the Alpha was kind of anemic, but you were firing so quickly that you were able to basically kill stuff before it realized it was getting shot. Once they lowered the DPM on the Stug 3, it isn't bad, but it has issues. It has its issues. So, I mean, it's still a good tank, and I still enjoy it, but like I was saying before with the Stug 3B, a hit, usually anything more than like 100 damage to you in the lower hull is probably going to destroy your engine. So, yeah, keep that in mind. The hit points on it are very, very, very low. PZ, the premium tank T25T. So it's basically the Polish... Czech, sorry, not Polish. We're talking about Kobe tanks earlier. The Czech T25T at tier 6 without the autoloader. If you know how that tank plays, it's pretty good. It's worth the money for tier 5 if you're trying to just grind it out and make a little bit of credits. It's actually a lot of fun. Fighting tier 7s, it can do it fairly easily. Its gun has enough pin to deal with some of them. The accuracy is lacking, so is the aim time, but it's good enough. It's tier 5, what do you expect? I'd recommend picking it up if you don't mind getting it. If it's on sale for not very much gold, go ahead and do so. It will probably serve you well. Panzer IV-H. The Panzer IV-H is probably my favorite tier 5. Not counting the KV-1. Panzer IV-H is something I played quite a bit. To I think like 68% over like 600 games. I want to say almost 700. Yeah. Yeah, so that's the other one. Oh, it is the Stug 4. Okay, so Stug 3 was the one with the L70. Stug 4 is the one that you get as the reward tank. The Panzer IV, 639 games, 68%. It's so good. I think it's so good. I enjoy it a lot. I played it with the Dirt before they nerfed it for a while, and then started playing it with the L48. Still enjoy it. Still think it's a really good tank. When you sub, you get several things. So, it's quite a few. The only one that I want to actually see that never actually does pop up. Show you. I'm gonna just divert for a quick second. This one never pops up. This is my favorite. For some reason. I guess I have to delete it and make it other something else. The L48, 75. Is what I use in the Panzer IV. Or you get... The first one that you can't see, that's from Gundam The Origins, which is the newest one, I believe, not counting Blood Orphan. Blood Orphan, whatever. The Origins, yes, please watch it. Please watch it. This one. Oh, that's really good! Twitch alerts. Alright. That one is from 8th Mobile Suit Team when a Zaku is attacking a ground Gundam. This one that is from War in a Pocket. It's a Zaku. Is it a high? I think it's a high Zaku fighting a Gundam Alex. That's right there. And this one, that one specifically, is from Gundam Unicorn. There you go. Anyway, back to what I was doing now. The 3001H. The 3001H was basically a bigger Panzer III for me. These days, it isn't actually pretty bad. Sorry, it isn't bad. It gets the L70 that the Stug gets. It just isn't as accurate. Sorry, it isn't as accurate, and the aim time is a little worse. But it's still a really good gun. Believe me, it's a really, really good gun. I would probably use this or the Konish. Honestly, on this thing, and it didn't have the Konish before, but it's not even called the Konish anymore. It's called the Waffle 0725. The Konish, essentially what it is, a squeeze bore gun where its APCR is ridiculously fast. We're talking basically, you're gonna, it shoots. I mean, like, okay, so the Jagdtiger was second fastest velocity in the game. I don't know what replaced it. It was some sort of APCR. I don't remember. But I think Jagdtiger actually still is number 2. It was number 1. But number 2 was the now the Jagdtiger. I forget what replaced it though. I don't remember. I don't remember at all, which actually is kind of frustrating. But this thing used to be number 1. The squeeze bore is great. The damage is kind of anemic, but the accuracy, aim time, they kind of nerfed that a little bit. But the pin, 221, will serve you very well. It is a heavy tank, though. It used to be a medium tank. Now it's a heavy tank. So it's a little slower, but it's very good. Very good. So, I mean, keep that in mind. I think you'll enjoy it. I surely did. It gets a lot of choices for guns. That's really all you really ask for. You're not gimped at all. The 3-4 is basically... See, so the Panzer IV is a fighting medium. The 3-4 is more or less a roll around and do stuff medium. It's like a light medium, so it can handle stuff pretty well. It's essentially the same as the Panzer IV, though. The Leo is essentially the same thing as the Lelouch, just a tier higher. It's a little faster, shoots a little faster. Just everything that the Lelouch can do is a little bit better, but at a worse tier. Spine, yes. Yes, I do. I think anything after the OI is terrible for tier. The OHO, the ONI, the Type 4, and the Type 5. The Type 5 actually really isn't that bad, but it slots itself between the mouse, and it slots itself between the E100. And honestly, the mouse does something very good. The E100 is something very good. The Type 5 being slotted in between those doesn't really do anything very good. It's like literally, it's the middle child. It's like it's forgotten about because it doesn't do anything good. The mouse can side script like a boss and still damage you. The E100 can side script like a boss and rip you to shreds with that 150. It's like you have a 128, a 150, and of course, then the Type 5 literally slots stuff in the middle with a 140. It's like it doesn't really make any sense as to why those are in the game. I obviously I guess they need to be, but whatever. I don't really, whatever. Just those tanks are silly. The Type 4 is probably the worst one ever. At tier 9, it's not good enough to do anything. It's way too slow. It just sticks out like a sore thumb. It's no. I don't mind the way it looks, but it's bad. Anyway, so moving on to tier 6, the Hummel. The Hummels moved several different tiers. It used to be the N tier arty, then it was tier 5, then it was like the fastest arty in the game. Spun around very quickly. It was able to snapshot, super crazy. It was able to go TD mode pretty easy. Pretty crazy, the Hummel. It's a very good TD. It's pretty mobile for tier 6. You'll probably enjoy it. You'll probably like it. I think against other tier 6 stuff, it probably isn't that good, but it's good enough. It's good enough. No, I didn't. The 3001H is a heavy tank. It is a heavy tank. It used to be a medium tank. They turned it into a heavy tank. I'm not sure if you guys remember when that happened. It was a while ago. It's a heavy tank, though. This is a heavy tank, not a medium tank. And I wasn't talking about a specific tank. I was talking about a very specific gun. The gun was broken, overpowered, because it was able to literally laser shot. You shot something, it got there instantaneously, regardless of how far away it was. That was ridiculous. That was ridiculous. But the 3601 gets the same gun options. It just at tier 6, it's kind of almost running out of the alphas. Anyway, back to the Hummel. Thank you, Disa. I still want to see that video of you running over stuff. I want to see the longer video of you hitting those tanks and stuff. Thank you very much for the resub, though. Thank you very much for the year. I appreciate that. Thank you for sticking around and dealing with me for a year. The Nashorn essentially is a Hummel with an 88 strapped to it. It has no... Looking at it, it seems like it had good gun depression. It does not. That frustrated me. 0.32 accuracy though, 1.9 second aim time. Same thing you get from the Panzer Souffle with a higher rate of fire on an 88. It played correctly. The Nashorn is an amazing tank. Jagdpanzer IV. Now the Jagdpanzer IV had it was blemished because no matter what you did, the Stug through is better than it. Like if you put the L70 on it, who cares? It doesn't really matter. You put the 88 on it, you don't really have the pin to do anything in your tier. There was no real option, so most people always run the 75 L70. Lion, thank you very much for the 13 months, for a year and a month. Thank you also for sticking around. Though I know you'd have a slightly longer one, but I think you lapsed for a month, so it got on you. I think you're right there with Krem, like around 22 months. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thorn, yes it is. Yes it is. So the Jagdpanzer IV had a really bad rap as a tier 6 TD because it didn't really do anything well. It was very camoed, but it didn't really have a whole lot of alpha. And if you did trade for alpha, you didn't have pin. So it was like what do you want to do with the thing? And it had a really bad rap for a long time. It wasn't really great. It wasn't really bad. It just, it was just there, honestly. Back to life. Thank you for the follow. Thank you everyone else who's also been following. I've been, too busy going on with these tanks to really actually thank you guys. But thank you very much. The Dicker Max. The Dicker Max. Now, the Dicker Max gets a 105. 169, 227, 0.36, 2.3 second aim time with ridiculous gun depression. Now, that helps it a little bit because it has no armor. But its backup speed is atrocious. So even if you put yourself in a good position, you need to not be seen, take your shot, and back off completely, hoping and assuming... assuming, not hoping, but assuming you got lit anyway, and if you didn't, pop back up for another shot. That's the best way to play this thing. You need to not be seen. You really, really need to not be seen. It isn't a bad tank. It definitely hits pretty hard for tier 6. The accuracy-wise, it's pretty good. APCR is really good. Just keep in mind that you're gonna be in trouble if you actually don't play this thing like it's a glass cannon. It doesn't have any armor. Camo's decent, but not necessarily special. It can't run. It's very slow. You're in trouble. Okay, you're in trouble if you stick around with that thing. So keep that in mind, and you'll be pretty good with it. Now, this is another highly talked about tank that, for the most part, had a really, really, really bad rap. Just bit me. So, 3001P, it gets a myriad of weapon choices. Okay. At tier 6, it gets the 48 from the Panzer IV. It gets the L56, the 88, which isn't quite good enough. It gets the Derp, which you don't want to use. Okay, you don't want to use that at tier 6. It's now useless. The 75 L70, which probably is your best bet, honestly. The 88, basically makes it a Porsche Tiger, without the armor and without the long 88. It's not as good. I would definitely say you want the extra pin, and I would say go with the 75 L70 in this instance. It's all right. Now the thing that made this thing so talked about, and usually negatively, is it's heavy. It's pretty heavy. Not statistics. Not statistics. Keep doing that. Like I said I would. It's 35 tons. Okay. That's pretty heavy for a medium tank that only gets 670 horsepower. It gets up. Okay, get me. It gets up. It gets up to speed. It doesn't really do it on flat ground though. Like its max speed, I think, is like 60. It almost never gets there. It's like 45-ish. But when you get downhill and you find something else in tier 6 or tier 5, you're trucking it. You're trucking it. At 35 tons, you're big enough that you're trucking whatever it is you hit. I mean, and it's gonna feel it. It's gonna feel it. So you're gonna wreck something. Okay, so. In hindsight, I should have probably played it more because I liked wrecking things. I liked trucking things back then. So I probably should have played it a lot more, but I didn't. 301P won't let you down. Actually, if you're into the whole win 8 thing, it'll probably give you some decent win 8 padding if you actually play it correctly and stay alive long as do a little bit of damage. You'll probably like it. The 3601 used to be a medium tank with the Konish. It was the tank with the Konish. It was specific to that tank, and it was broken. It was really, really, really actually kind of broken. We talked about it on the 3001. The 3601 basically is the same thing with Tiger-like armor at tier 6. So seeing tier 8s, it's the same thing. I almost recommend just using this gun, the 75 squeeze bore. The 88 is not an option really. The L70. As a heavy tank, the damage is pretty anemic, and even though it's bad in the Waffle or the Konish, at least you have the pen. Like the rate of fire is decent. This is just like you're walking into an issue here. Like it's basically the same average damage as the L70. If your base pin's a little bit higher and it's only 5. So, same exact damage. So there's no reason to want to use the L70. I would definitely use the Konish in this instance. I don't think any other gun would serve it. It's probably just a waste. An absolute. But it is good though. At tier 6, it's pretty good. The VK 3002. Now this thing is basically a baby Panther. I believe it's the prototype Panther. I like this thing. I think it's really good. I mean, I haven't actually played it on this account. I think it's pretty good for tier 6. It's kind of where I feel the Panther should actually be, and it's like the Panther doesn't really seem like a tier 7 tank. It's like I don't feel like the Tiger really feels like a tier 7 tank. Its armor's all right in tier. You can angle it just right to bounce a lot of things. It's very heavy. I think this is actually approaching 40 tons at this point, isn't it? Yeah, 40 tons. It's pretty heavy. It doesn't move very quickly. It's yeah. It's a good tank. It's just, it's very big. It's not very fast. It's essentially a Hedium. You should probably play it like one. Don't be aggressive in it, and just use your superior accuracy and rate of fire. The 3001. Now, these things made people irate back in the day. It's got decent armor. I mean, like, for what it's worth, it's got decent armor for tier. Throwing it at angles will usually make people bounce a lot. It's got decent horsepower and mobility. It gets the 70L70, so now you get a decent gun with decent accuracy, with decent aim time to put that gun into play, so you don't need to always spam premium rounds to get through tanks. It isn't bad at tier 6. This thing probably won't let you down. It doesn't really get the damn small turn, which leads into tier 7. We're going to talk about this yet, though, so we'll get to that in a minute. Decent tank at tier 6. Like literally, it's like tier 6 is actually pretty solid for the Germans all the way through. The Hummel, Nashorn, this is a blemish. The Dicker Max 3001P, which this isn't really that bad. I just have bad memories in it. The 3601, 3001P are both very good. 3002 is very good. And 3001D is very good. 2801 is one of the ones that's suffering, and it has lots of gun options. Like, listen to me. It has lots of gun options, but as a tier 6 light tank, it's very, very limited. Most time you'll see people running around with the derp. It's like you're gonna fire HE and do what to me and tier 9? I mean, what? Absolutely nothing. The L48 is kind of seeing, it's like at the top of where its usefulness is. This is worthless. This is also worthless. This is laughable that it's even on this tank. It's like, why would you do that? It's like your gun options are absolute gutter trash, and it's like, please just finish grinding it so you can move on to the next tank and feel better about yourself. Or just skip it. This is one of the ones that, like, it was put in place to make you spend money on free experience to get past it. Now, we're moving to the good stuff. Okay, now we're getting a little better here. GW Panther. The GW Panther is bae for me, okay? I played a lot of games in my GW Panther. I think I even played a lot of games GW Panther on this account. I want to say it was probably close to 700 games. On my other one, it should be pretty close here too. Yeah. 698 games, 56%, average damage is whatever. You do what you can. I like GW Panther because before the M55 was a thing, this is the tank, the artillery piece, SPG, that actually gave you very good accuracy, very, very, very good accuracy, and also very good traverse rate. And it sucks because the Hummel doesn't have it. The GW Panther gets it. It's like, yes. And the GW Tiger P and GW Tiger and then GW Type E, they don't have that anymore. It's like you get that great traverse where you're not constantly breaking your tracks to actually get stuff done. The GW Panther was a special kind of tank, especially at tier, I think has it always been tier 6? No, it was tier 6 before, and the GW Tiger was tier 7, and the GW Type E was the tier 8. So yeah, this was always a special tank. It was really good. Didn't really have any splash, but comparing it to the M12, I'd rather play the GW Panther, honestly. Now, Stir Email. Stir Email special, okay, because it has a special kind of thing to it where it has tons and tons of gun impression. What is it, 14? I think that's really effing good. It's really, really good. Okay, the top speed is abysmal. It's not very fast. The punch it gets with its 128, because it's a 128, is 231. However, you do not get an APCR round. Your average damage is 490. Your rate of fire could be better, but at tier 7, what else are you asking for? 0.36 dispersion, 2.15 second aim time. And you're a TD, so your aim time doesn't really affect you too much. However, if anything gets around you, if anything spots you, if you're hit by arty, you're probably dead. It's a great tank to take to a hill. Like, for example, I used to take this thing up to on the hill on proc and just sit up there and blast people. And by the time they see you, you've got so much gun depression. The only thing they could hit was the top of your tank, and you backed off fast enough. Nope, wasn't happening. I enjoyed this thing a lot. I think if you go on my YouTube and see Hill fighting like a boss on Severgorsk, which is no longer a tank, no longer a map anymore, I use that gun depression to the max. It's very, 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 very good. I enjoy this thing a lot. It's very slow. Another pitfall of this tank. I believe with the 128, you only get 13 rounds. So this isn't a tank that you can just throw out there. Your damage is very, very, very limited from beginning to the game, from the beginning of the game to the end. You're making those shots count, or you're actively hurting your team, especially as a top tier tank. You're not gonna make an impact if your first 7 shots just miss and you have 5 rounds left. Or 6 rounds left. It won't go too well for you. The Egg Panther. The Egg Panther is my favorite 17. When I was talking about it before on the other, look at this. Now, the way it used to work is the 88 Pak 43 L71 used to have better aim time and better DP. This is from maybe a year and a half, 2 years removed on this thing. Then they buffed the 105 to make it so much better than the 88 that there's almost no reason to run it. The 88 has better rate of fire. Okay, 203, 237. That's, it's pretty good. The 105 gets 200, 244. So it's pretty good. Plus it gets the alpha. Its rate of fire is only so much worse than it. The aim time is great. 1.7 seconds on a tier 7 is amazing. The best thing about the Egg Panther is its gun, and that's the thing that makes it special. So the more you play the Egg Panther, the more you will appreciate the fact that while you are very big for a tier 7, you don't really have a whole lot of camo for a TD, you're not really quite an assault TD, but you can follow a push pretty well, because you're pretty quick, because you're based on a Panther chassis. And your gun is going to put out major, major damage. I have a video also on YouTube with the Egg Panther where I did 4,400 damage. I want to say that was the highest game I ever had in my Egg Panther, and for good reason, because I was wrecking tier 9s. It is a solid tank, and people underestimate it, especially if you only ever see bad players play it. Yeah, 2646 was my maximum experience in that game right there. 4,960 with 7 kills in a tier 9 game. You sit there and you just hold the shoot button down. You just shoot, and you will be rewarded. You have enough pin to go through tier 8s. Tier 9s are a little scary, in certain games, but just play it slow enough that you feel you can actually do what you need to do, and you'll wreck things. I really, 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 really enjoy the Egg Panther. I think you will too, as long as you remember that you're the size of a house, and you can't specifically sneak around much anymore. Because after this, the Jagdpanther 4 was basically the last stealthy-ish TD you're going to play. The Jagdpanther starts to transition from stealth into assault TD, and that's what you're going to see later on. In that line specifically. The Tiger P, I did not play on this account because I already knew it was bad. This is back when I was in G and we had access to the sheriff accounts, and so they switched it around and everyone could play it based on what, whatever, just based on how you want to do it. Played it, didn't really like it too much. It was very slow. I would rather play the Tiger. This thing did not get the DPM buff. I'm pretty sure that the Tiger got. Look at this aim time. Like, this is one of the regions that I couldn't deal with. I refuse to play tanks that have terrible guns. Aim time is usually a very, very, very big deciding factor on me on whether or not I play this tank. 2.9 second aim time on just a normal 88 is abysmal. It's disgusting. It makes no sense. It's like if the alpha had been higher, I could justify that. But 2.9 second aim time is disgusting. Disgusting. I don't know why the 88s were treated like this, especially in the beginning. This is the tank that's been forgotten. Like, even though it was made HD, it was still forgotten. I don't know why 2.9 exists. If you're trying to tell me it's balanced out because it has armor, 200 in the hull, 100 in the turret, those side speeds right here on the corner, all it's flat. It's all flat. If you have heat or any APCR or anything worth a damn, lower hull is a huge weak spot, and that whole front spot is a complete weak spot. It's not what you would really want to play with. So, I mean, I can't see the point in playing this thing. I would avoid it like the plague. Stay away from it. Stay away from it. Dead serious. Because well, wait, I was looking at the short 88, but it doesn't get much better in this one. No, never mind. I'm lying. I thought I was looking at short 88. What the hell is short 88? Yeah, see that's much better, but you lose all the pen. Lose all the pen. That's just disgusting to me. Absolutely disgusting. Tiger, obviously this is the tank that makes people play this game. If you're a World War II buff or you like World War II in any sort of way, you know what a Tiger is. There's no way you don't know what a Tiger is. You've heard its exaggerated kill count on Shermans and T-34s, and you know exactly how fast it is. You know how boxy it is. You know exactly what that thing is. In game, it is now more formidable than it was before. It lost to every single Tier 7 tank in the game, even the French Tier 7, the M4. It's like they weren't even trying to make it good. They deliberately wanted it to be bad just to make people spend tons of money to get it, to find out that it was awful. It's like it had, in its current form, it had the same DPM not the same DPM. It had the same reload rate as an IS, with basically 240 HP per shot, while the IS got 390. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. The Tiger now has a wicked rate of fire, so that basically puts it up or one up on a lot of tanks. They specifically buffed the L71 and made it much better than almost anything else. So I mean, you're gonna be wrecking fools hard with the L71, especially because you can almost perma-track people. I think it fires every 5.5 seconds, a little, maybe a little more than that. It's like 6 seconds. I forget off the top of my head. I've gotten as low. I thought I got it as low as the 5 something, but it's very fast. It has no armor. It's definitely a second line tank. You want to play it like such and just DPM stuff. Tiger will not let you down. Panther. The Panther is good tank. The 75 L100 Average pin is pretty ridiculous. The pin is still this. My headset. Sorry about that. The L100 is awesome. The pin goes up, so you're good if you want to just fire AP. APCR is actually really good. Rate of fire is solid. The damage is anemic. You're going to be shooting very quickly, but you're not going to be killing anything very quickly. Dispersion is absolutely amazing. 2.5 second aim time isn't bad, but it's not good either. And that basically defines the Panther. It's big enough that it's going to wreck stuff. It's fast enough that it can move around decently until you put the smell term on it, and then all of a sudden it just doesn't do that anymore. The fact that you don't really need the smell term, I'm not going to tell you to run it. To be honest with you, I mean, the armor it gets is pretty much worthless anyway. The only reason why you'd put it on is for the view range, and if you were maxed out anyway, I wouldn't even bother. It's 370 to 380. I would rather just keep your mobility up, and just wreck stuff with the L100. Keep it a medium instead of like a hedium, because that's what it kind of turns into very, 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 very quickly. 2002D. Now this thing was underwhelming for a really long time. It's like it gets an 88, which I guess is alright, but for tier 7 at that point, it's not pinning much. The L70 still has better pin, but now your damage is anemic. So it's like, which one do you choose? You obviously don't choose the 105. This doesn't exist. You don't want that. Even though I steal the damn time. It's good. I would again stay out of the smell term. It only gives you like 10 meters of view range. Not really worth it. Stay out of the smell term. If you're gonna do this, run it with the small turret and the L70, and then be done with it. Get the engines, and it will almost perform like an actual medium tank you expect it to be. Okay, so just stay out of that. Don't do that. SP1C. Now, I have yet to play the SP1C, but it reminds me of like some of the actual newer tank game in other games that won't be mentioned. The 90 mil has 3 shots. It's 0.4 dispersion, 2.5 second aim time as a 90 mil on the main gun here. It's not very good. Not very good. 0.38, 0.24 on the main gun. The 90 you get, I think, off bat, because this is your starting one, it's a 90 mil. The Mekar. You might actually be better off running the single shot, looking at this. I don't really know why you'd want to run the autoloader. 20 seconds for that, and it's 7 point... yeah, I think you might actually be better off running the single shot. I've seen people run this before, the single shot, and I didn't really notice a difference, but I didn't really play it before, so I'm not really sure which one you want. But this thing's pretty quick. It seems really good. It seems like it's basically invisible for the most part. People don't actually play it especially well, though. To be honest, it's just kind of how it goes. Tier 8. On to Tier 8 now. GW Panther P hits like a dump truck. Does not move. That pretty much sums it up. I mean, there's not much to say, really. If you get hit by it in Tier 8, you're going to feel it. It doesn't move very well. Its traverse rate is absolute garbage. That makes it kind of difficult. If you see a GW Type P in a game, do not drive in straight lines. And I would say move parallel. Just, follow it. If it's sitting here, just, always always move away from it in a horizontal way from it. Just don't follow it directly. Just don't sit still. It hurts really bad. The Roomba, or the Rheinmetall. This thing is annoying. It gets the Jagdtiger gun, essentially, the first Jagdtiger gun, or the 3128. It is virtually invisible. Okay, 246 pin, 311 pin on APCR. if you walk into this thing, okay, and you don't pay attention to where it is, and you get hit once, you need to immediately look and see where you think it is, and then put yourself in a way to not get shot by it again. People in this game, because they cannot see it, will constantly get chewed up by these things, and it's so frustrating to watch them die. It makes me sad. Like, I want to cry. It's so bad sometimes. People do not learn their lessons, and they constantly die. The 150 on this isn't a bad choice, but it's not very good. You're not really sniping with it like you would normally with a 128. But both choices are fine. Just sit, camp bush, and shoot out of bush, and do lots of damage. Though close quarters does not fare very well. It has no actual armor. Anything rams it basically screws it up, and HG wrecks this thing. So, yeah, 20, 10, 8. It doesn't weigh much either because it doesn't have any armor. It gets wrecked pretty hard, so stay away from actual combat. Jagdpanther 2. The Jagdpanther 2 is basically the tier 8 meta when it comes to TDs. It's fast. It has a really good gun. 0.35, 2.2 second aim time. 246, 311. Very, very, very good tank. This thing is also Bay. I love, love, love the Jagdpanther 2. It's a good way to actually give a send-off to the Jagdpanther by having the Jagdpanther 2. Its upper, if put in the correct position, is unpinnable. You're not going to pin it. You're just not. I don't care what you shoot at it. It's just not going to pin. For the most part. Its gun depression is decent. Gun traverse is decent. Its mobility is above decent. Its pin is decent. For what it sees, it's stellar. It's an absolute stellar tank. And if you skip it, or if you don't think you're going to like it because it has a Panther hull, well, keep it hull down. Keep it hull down and snipe with it. You'll be rewarded, I promise you. The Ferdinand. Or Ferdy for short. Ferdinand. Ferdy Dirty. The Ferdy Dirty. The box tank. The elephant. Whatever you want to call it, its historical value is worth more than its actual value in game. Now, it's slow. It's decently well armored for what it's worth. The top is 200, which is just enough to be a nuisance to AP rounds. Heat won't stop it. APC will go straight through it. It's a little too slow currently. It's definitely more of a hold corner and shoot people type tank. It's not a follow push and kill stuff type tank. If you get out maneuvered, you're basically dead. Light tanks are pretty insane. Right now, when we have been up for 18 hours. Sorry, 19 hours. Ferdy's good. It's good, but it's not a Jagdpanther 2. It's very slow, very vulnerable, and gets into bad situations that it really shouldn't be. Off A. I played the Offs A quite a few times. It's such a weird tank, okay? Because, like, even though it has Tiger 2 tendencies, you don't necessarily need the top turret for the gun. You can keep that turret off and keep some weight off of you, okay? It's take 2,000 kilos, you keeping off your tank. I want to say running the small turret, because, I mean, it's 185 over 100. You may or may not stop stuff with this turret. It depends. You won't stop anything with this one, but you will keep your speed. The 105 it gets is decent. It's not the long 105. It's not the, I think it's L68, I want to say it is. It's not the long 105. It gets the short 105 because it has mobility. Now, the mobility actually is really good. It's really freaking fast for a heavy tank. I want to say that it's 50 yeah, 55 tons. It moves pretty quick for a tank of that size. It's IS-8 like at tier 8. It's not a bad tank. Indara, it's not a bad tank. It does a very specific role. It's like with the 113 or any other fast heavy tank, say the E5 and whatnot, where you take it is, you go fight mediums with it. If you go fight heavies with it, you don't do very well. You take a medium to a medium fight with medium tanks and support those medium tanks, and you rock. It's when you try and hold corners against IS-3s and things like that. Yeah, you're gonna get wrecked. You're gonna get wrecked. Really, really, really hard. But it's a Hedium playstyle, and a Hedium playstyle isn't for everyone. It's not gonna work all the time. Sometimes it's best to just second line with it. It's it's decent. Honestly, it's decent enough. There you go. So I mean, it's special. It has a role in the game, but it's not the best at it. Tiger 2. Tiger 2 is also Bay. I love this thing not only because I have a model of it sitting on my darn desk, but because it's very, very strong. Its gun is very, very good. The fact that they recently buffed the gun up to .31 is testament to the fact that people love it so much that they complain about the fact that it doesn't really have anything special separated from other Tyrian heavies. Now it's just extremely accurate. 2.5 second aim time doesn't really matter if you aren't moving much. 225 on the AP pin is really good. 285 on the APCR is also really good. And you're going to find yourself in a lot of situations where you can just sit back and deal damage. And you're going to love it. You're going to love it. You're going to pump out a lot of damage in the Tiger 2. And it has armor enough to stop most things. Especially in the side scrape. With the lower hull exposed, I mean, you're going to get pinned all day. Especially in Tier 9, they'll probably pin your upper too. It won't make a difference. You're going to die a lot. Just keep that in mind. So the Tiger 2 is a very good tank. Panther 2. Panther 2 is a huge improvement on the Panther, but it works in the same way. If you run the Smelter, you're going to lower how fast you can go. You're going to lower your horsepower per ton. You can just run the 88L71 and be done with it and not have the turret. I mean, it's completely up to you. You can see basically here it's the same exact thing. All you're getting is the view range. Probably better off just keeping the stock turret, keeping your weight down, and hauling butt around. It's like it's only a difference of like 245 pounds, but I mean realistically, it's up to you on how you want to do it. They're exactly the same. I mean, you get the look, which makes it look good, but it's up to you on what you want to do. Run whatever you want. I almost would say probably stick to the L100. 75. The damage is still anemic, but this gun's not bad either because you get really good accuracy. So it's completely up to you on how you run this. There's several you can choose from though, so it's like it's also one of those tanks where you have different choices for different things. The Indian Panzer. Now I played this thing a little bit, wasn't really completely sold on it. It wasn't quite a Pershing, but it wasn't quite another Tier 8 tank. Like, it was... It's good. It's good enough. Like, over the Panther 2, it performs. The Panther 2 is limited by gun depression and a couple other things. The Indian Panzer, though, it's a 90 mil. It's decent. It gets a mantlet that gets very frustrating when it's hulled down. If you can hit the cupola or get to go through the side of the turret, it's good, pretty good. But it's I mean, I still like the Panther. I like the looks of the Panther 2, but that's just because I'm old school. RU-251. The RU-251 is essentially a baby Leo 1. The DPM this thing puts out is obscene. It'll wreck you if you don't pay attention to it. It does a lot of damage very quickly. Its AP round is nothing really to write home about, but its heat round gets the APCR-like velocity, and it's able to actually just do lots of really... It's able to do lots of things. The thing is very versatile. It gets a Hesh round, which rocks other medium tanks, light tanks, waffles, and the like. Very, very, very lightly armored tanks. It can just do a little bit of everything. The RU-251 is a very, 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 very solid tank. Even gets 1,200 hit points. Now, The only bad thing about it is that you're always going to see tier 9s and 10s. It's just you're going to be bottom tier all the time, and once you do get a tier 9 game, usually you're able to carry pretty hard. But as always, light tanks don't carry very much, and it's very seldom that stuff like that happens. But you're able to actually do a lot of work, and I think that you'd appreciate it. You're probably going to like this a lot more. A lot more than the SB1C, or hell, to be honest with you, a lot of the other tier 8 light tanks. So, like the T-49, for example, can wreck this thing pretty hard, provided it hits it almost anywhere, because it doesn't have any armor. But, you know, I don't know. The RE251 is special. It's definitely one of my favorites. Oh, I forgot the Panther 88. Panther 88 essentially is a Panther 2, just, you know, a premium version of it. It isn't specifically amazing or great, but it does a few things, you know? It's essentially the same exact tank, so slightly worse. It does make decent money, it does see tier 10s, and that's one of the only bad things about it, but it's a little worse in every regard. It's a little bit slower. The armor doesn't feel as effective for whatever reason. I think it's basically the same, though. The traverse is a little bit lower. Basically, it's just a little worse in every single. And then the Luva, which is, you know, the same thing in the tier 8 range. Where do I go with this thing? It's like when it first came out, there were tons of them, right? Like it was a very, very, very good tank. It was a very good tank. The pin on its 105, the tier 9 gun basically, 105, 5 rounds a minute, 234. So this is like one of the highest pinning guns in the game when it first came out, not counting tier 9s and whatnot. 294 on the APCR, 320, 320 obviously, 0.33, but 2.9 second aim time. They need to lower it. They need to lower it to 2.5. I mean, 2.9 is a little too damn long. Otherwise, it's a good tank. It's just its armor profile is terrible for the things it sees. It's way too slow. Its turret is not very good. Its cupola is overexposed. Like it catches fire too easy. You constantly lose your engine from the front. It is underpowered to fight tier 10s unless you are strictly sniping. And for a tank that is so slow, maybe you should be doing that, but you aren't really helping your team if you can't get shots down range properly, and it's just I don't know. It's a good tank. It can't do anything right. Like it does a lot of things wrong specifically. Tier 9, GWB Tiger, boss, same thing. It gets a 170 and a 260 Morose, 210 Moroser. It hits like a dump truck. The 170 basically gives it better accuracy. This thing, whatever, you know. You're going to run the big gun because you want to wreck people. That's what you're going to do. Traverse is still the same exact way. Still too slow. Traverse rate is like this. It's like nothing. But it's like a dump truck. That's basically it. The Waffle 4 is the extreme version of the Roomba. It's also invisible, so it actually gets the Jagdtiger gun on a turret. It is extremely vulnerable to HE, extremely vulnerable to anything. Its vulnerability is maxed out to basically everything that has a gun in this game. If it has a gun, it can probably pin it. But that is then offset by extreme accuracy, extreme rate of fire compared to the Jagdtiger. It gets everything you could possibly want on the Jagdtiger except for a casemate and actual armor. That isn't even usable in tier 9 half of the time. So it's a good tank, it just is very, 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 very fragile. The Jagdtiger. Jagdtiger recently got a buff, so it gets an extra 1,000 hit points, which means the difference sometimes. Jagdtiger's a monster. I also have a Jagdtiger on my desk because it's like my second favorite. Where's my Jagdtiger? You hiding from me? Is your camo too shrunk? Your camo's too shrunk. I can't even find you. I'm just gonna worry about it. Yeah. Well, it's here somewhere now. Where it went, I do not. But it's here. Slightly bothered me. Whatever. The Jagdtiger itself is very good. The L61, L66. It has a unique damage. It's 560. It's the only gun in the game I think that still does 560. It's really random, but it punches like a dump truck. 276 AP is really good. It's almost the same. I think it's the same as the T30. 352 I think is maybe also the same as T30, but it has a really really high velocity and very good accuracy. Jagdtiger's a monster hold down. It's very very good. Um, off speed, E75. So let's talk about both of those together. The off speed, when driving directly at you, has very few weak spots. You can. You use. I think you could actually. I think you actually still can overmatch the roof with certain guns. The cupola is like really the only weak spot you're gonna regularly hit over the front of the turret face. Most of your shots are probably gonna go in the mantlet. It's very weak in the sides, however. From the front is essentially just going to drive right at you, and unless you got a big enough gun or a lot of pin, you're not really going to pin it. So it's very strong tank, though it's very awkward because people don't understand how to use that rear turret design. So it's solid. It's unhistorical. It's very buff to be relevant in Tier 9. And back in the day, the IS-4, when it used to be a Tier 9, the off-speed was good, but it wasn't that good. It still had a lower hull problem, and it was just wrecked by it. So the E75, on the other hand, puts basically the best qualities of the Tiger II into a bigger chassis. It's bigger, it's meaner, it's heavier, it does more damage. It's essentially a Tiger II just in a bigger platform. It wrecks things. The E50. The E50 is a very solid tank. Usually Unicum, either Unicums will either run Patton or the E50. It's like there really is no in between. You may see him in T54s every once in a while, but there really is no in between when it comes to tanks of choice. The T50 is kind of stepped up now. The Rain also is kind of used every once in a while, but the E50 is basically that tank. It's the tank that gets used by everyone. Leo PTA. Before we jump into it, because there's something to be drawn between these two. The Leo and the E50 are both very accurate. I want to say the Leo prototype is a little less accurate. This thing, 0.3 accuracy, 2.1 second aim time. So 0.3 is basically the highest in the game, not counting the Waffle. The Waffle's 0.29, which is obscene. But the E50 is very accurate. It gets AP, APCR. It's very good at putting fire down range and very accurate to make those shots go where you want them to go. That counts a lot. Leo prototype, however, gets mobility over everything else. Yeah, the dispersion is a little worse, aim time is a little worse, but it gets the mobility to make it a fearsome medium tank. So because it gets that, the the E50 and the Leo prototype are polar opposites of each other, but they basically still want to do the same role. They want to be out in front, they want to be kind of taking damage a little bit, but you can hang back in either one of these and do just fine. They're both very good tanks. It really depends on how you deal with it. GW Type E. The GW Type E, to me, probably is the best tier 10 in the game when it comes to artillery. The Batchet Arty is, good at annoying people. The T92 doesn't hit much. The Conqueror doesn't hit much, but when it does, you feel it. The T92 Bat Arty, meh. The 261 is very accurate. You should probably be shooting a lot of AP rounds out of it. The Conqueror the Conqueror gun carrier and Conqueror gun carriage and the T92 are blunderbusses but splash for a crap ton, and that's basically it, I believe. I don't think I'm leaving one out. This one, Conqueror, Batchet. Yeah, that's it. The Type E, though, has a blend of everything. So it hits like a truck. It's very accurate for what it's worth. It's not very mobile, and that's the only real downside to it. But it's very good. It's like a mixture of everything. It's just very good. Okay. Anyway, Type E is just I feel is like the best all rounder to use at tier 10 if you're going to use a tier 10 artillery, which I don't advise because in most cases playing tier 10 artillery removes an actual tier 10 from your team, which can be harmful, especially if you're not able to be useful, like on a map like Himmelsdorf. Waffle 100 is stupid silly. I mean, I don't even want to talk about it. It's dumb in every imaginable way. 5 rounds, 560, 2.9 second aim time, 1.5. You guys know what it is. I don't even really need to get into it. It's just silly. The JPE is the only gun in the game so far. Sorry, the only TD in the game has a 170. It hits pretty hard. Its average pin is 299. 420 YOLO Blaze It Swag XXX Homie One Shot. No scope for days is the heat round pin. Average damage on its gun is 1050. And that's usually you'll see rolls of 1200, and it's very, 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 very common to see that. And when that hits you, you feel it. That's not something you want to get hit by. 0.35 accuracy, 2.27 aim time is it's very immobile. The thing is very immobile, but the gun will crush things when it hits it to its absolute max. Hey DJ, how you doing? It's a decent tank. Though the way I feel it works is it's the ultimate push TD, essentially. The things that see you don't want to get hit by you, and if you bring support with you, they have the ability to flank those guys once they start backing off of corners or backing off terrain features or wherever they see you coming. They'll try and flank you, have one tank next to you to basically stop that from happening, and you're good to go. Just wreck stuff in the face. The Mouse, obviously, is one of the most famous tanks in this game, along with the Tiger. But as it seems, though, the ones that are the most famous are also the ones that kind of underperform. It has decent hull armor, but the thing is, decent turret and hull armor, which I think was buffed beyond historical accuracy, but it needed it because it was just getting pinned by everything, regardless of how you looked off or did anything. So, the Mouse is a really good tank, though it's slow, it reloads slow, its aim time is now better, but that doesn't matter because everything's run away from you. The Alpha's alright, but it's the side-scraping king next to the IS-4. If you aren't paying attention to it, you'll never pin it. The weaknesses basically include the fact that it has slow rate of fire, and if you get to the side of this tank, like in a Russian medium or a T-54, or, Russian top-tier medium or a T-54 or something along those lines, WZ-20, the 121 itself. Tanks like that get to its side, and you can basically put it down. You just shoot, and it cannot retaliate because you are so short. That is one of the major weaknesses to it. The E100 is basically the choice to go with when you want to play a heavy over the Mouse, just because it doesn't actually provide you. It's faster for one. The Mouse is limited to 20 km. The E100 is like 37, I want to say. Regularly hits it hits 40 some odd downhill. It gets a 150 and a turret. It's the same exact way. You look it off and you don't really get pinned. It's very good. The Mouse and it are very special tanks. It really just depends on how you want to play them. The 120 on this thing isn't great. I would definitely you want to go for the Alpha. I would pay more attention to the fact that you want to put the E100 in a nice hull down position because your lower hull is pretty weak unless you're angled pretty hard. If you're angled pretty hard, then the drive sprocket wheel is exposed. So keep that in mind. That's basically the gist of what the E100 really is. It's a strong push tank. It's a strong carry tank, provided it has support to some degree, be it lights or whatever else you're thinking. E50M. E50M is also a very good tank. Really depends on how you play that thing too. It's like the E50 I believe is better than the E50M, but the E50M basically has a upper plate that regardless of how you shoot at it, it's gonna bounce. It's very, 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 very strong. The Leo wanted it are taken to the extremes again. So the E50M is basically a Hedium where it rolls into a position and tries to hold a corner or tries to hold stuff in general. And the Leo 1 is the one that's out in front, soaking up damage, spotting things out, trying to slightly scout. It's not something you really want to do in a Tier 10 tank, but if you know what you're doing, get out in front of the enemies, get a few shots off, and back off. That's what the Leo 1 is good at. E50M cannot perform that same role, and the Leo 1 cannot perform its role. They both have a place in the current meta. It's just the E50M, for what it's worth, used to be really good in the meta, and now the Leo 1 basically has no place because everyone's playing heavies, and everyone's playing slow enough that they won't just turn around a corner and go, oh, it's all good. Pretty messed up. So, that's pretty much it. I don't want to say I didn't really leave out any premium tanks. I got through everything. That is basically it on the German line, though. So, yeah. I guess I'll take another break and move on to the next one, though. Suffice to say, I actually am getting pretty tired. I don't think I'll make it through another one. Which kind of sucks to say. I really don't want to do that, but I think I'll stop it